Hello there, good evening. Welcome to FaceOff. Now, the national conference has been on for quite a while, and a lot of things have been brought to the fore that a lot of Nigerians thought were of paramount importance. Now, some of the things have also been brought to the fore that many people thought were, well, we can do away with this. But then they mentioned something last week that many had thought about, discarded, brought up again, and thought about again, and yet still discarded: the issue of taxation. But the focus here had to do with religious bodies. Should they be taxed? Now, when that decision was, when the entire delegates there somewhat unanimously supported the fact that religious bodies should be taxed, it arose out of the fact that one of those that made the contribution said, Malam Nasir Kura, during his contributions, said the religious leaders were making much money at the expense of the people, and that many of them own private jets and universities and therefore should be taxed. Is that what will make the difference? Is that what should change? If this recommendation is accepted by the National Assembly and passed into law, then churches and mosques in the countries will begin to pay taxes to the coffers of government. This issue is generating a lot of reactions. Are the members of these bodies not already taxed? These are some of the questions that are being asked. Now, if they are already taxed, would this not amount to double taxation? I mean, I get my money, it's taxed, and I take it as a donation. You know, this money is already taxed, and I add it to give it to somebody, and you still go there to tax the person. Wouldn't that amount to double taxation? What's the place of the law or the Constitution as regards the existence of this religious bodies? What does the law have to say about this? Well, these are some of the things we're hoping will get sorted out today. And I have two lawyers in the house, both of them quite versed with the Constitution, and they'll help us to sort things out a little bit. I have two here today. I have Mr. Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner who believes that religious bodies should pay taxes. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, and good evening to all the good people of Nigeria.
And on this other side is Femi Ibiayo, a legal practitioner as well, who believes that they shouldn't pay tax.
That they shouldn't? That they should pay tax.
No, I thought you were saying they shouldn't pay tax.
They should pay tax.
They should pay tax?
Yeah.
He says they should pay tax. You say they should pay tax.
They should pay tax.
Okay, I guess they're having a change of mind. Anyway, we'll find out as
I
a
think
program.
He's taking the position that they shouldn't.
Well, we'll find out as we go along.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, gentlemen, let's hear you state your stand real quickly. Then we can move on from there. So I begin with you.
Yes, thank you very much. My view about this is that we have to start to look at the religious sector, religious environment as a sector, as an economic viable sector in Nigeria. Unfortunately, if you look at the Bureau of Statistics, it's not classified as a formal sector, but the reality is that it is an impactful sector that can move the economy of the country forward. And therefore, we can no longer, and government can no longer continue to overlook that sector as if it doesn't exist. For instance, if I ask the question, how many Nigerians are involved in the agricultural sector? How many Nigerian companies, what's the percentage of Nigerian companies that are established daily, involved in agriculture, for instance, as a sector? But when you look at the sector that involves the religious aspects of Nigerians, 95% of Nigerians interface with their various religious bodies on a day-to-day basis.
All right,
and so to that extent...
Thank you.
Yes.
We're not starting. It's just your stand.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Kolawole.
Well, I will just begin by posing some hypothetical questions and also provide answers to them. And the first question is, why do governments all over the world impose taxes and levies on the citizens? I would say it's basically to provide infrastructures for the citizens and also to provide security. Churches, being good members of the society, ordinarily, if the members have not been paying taxes, have paid their taxes, you ordinarily, again, shouldn't be expecting the church to pay taxes because, like you and I would say, do know, churches are not set up to make a profit. They are not business organizations. They are rather charity organizations.
All right. Thank you very much. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with our conversation. Should religious organizations and indeed bodies pay taxes? We'll be back shortly. You can be a part of the conversation via email, faceoff@channelstv.com, or tweet at FaceOff Today or at Nelta Egbe. We'll be back shortly. Please keep it short and simple and state your location when you send your mail. We'll be back. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're already getting some tweets here. Well, someone tweet Nemo says the confab, and what the confab endorsed was that businesses run by religious bodies should be taxed. Their businesses already pay taxes anyway. The confab never said religious bodies should be taxed. He says he's at the confab. All right, thank you, Nemo. Okay, but let's see here. The question is, should religious bodies be taxed? You can ask the first question since you gave your stance first. Right. So he'll ask you the first question.
Now, I want to ask Femi to explain to us why members of churches, when you belong to a church or a mosque, ordinarily you would have been paying your personal income tax. And if you also run companies and all that, your company would have been paying the various taxes that all the laws in the country ensures those organizations to pay. Would you think it's the amount of double taxation by the time you now ask the churches and the mosque to again begin to pay taxes to government from the money that they raise from the members of those churches and the mosque all over the country?
Thank you. I think the first thing is that let us clarify the concepts and make the distinctions. One, taxation from whose perspective? Is it from the perspective of the member or subscriber to the religious organization who is making the donations, either by way of tithes, zakat, or whatever you may call it? Or are you looking at the taxation argument from the point of view of the entity itself, which is regarded at law as a separate entity from its members? So when you're looking at religious organizations incorporated under Part C of CAMA, they are deemed to be corporate citizens of Nigeria. They operate for the advancement of their religious thoughts within Nigeria and within the jurisdictional space of Nigeria. And they require the assistance of, and in fact, they solicit subscription of Nigerians as members. So if it's going to generate any form of income or revenue, there is no reason why that income or revenue itself should not be subject to taxation. The idea that you say it's because it's for charity is becoming archaic. The reason I'm saying so is this. Look, the average Nigerian...
the average Nigerian come for what
yes,
purposes?
I will explain. The average Nigerian...
What do these churches and mosques apply the income that they generate to? That is the question
yes,
that is very
agreed.
important.
It's not just...
And jamming to
let's
the
look at
question
it first of all.
asked.
Yes, let's look at it from the point of view that the average Nigerian who is a member of these associations or groups, right, is making donations from his own GNP, his own GDP, which is made up of his own GNP, his own gross national income. And a percentage of that, of that income, which it generates for the country, is given to these organizations. Now, these organizations, by our archaic laws, are exempted from also providing their own obligations to the state. Now, in Nigeria alone, we don't have statistics.
I'm sorry. It's becoming more like a lecture now.
Hold on, if you allow me to make my point. If you look at Nigeria, we don't have any statistics of what is really being generated from this informal sector of the religious bodies or the ecclesiasticals. And the fact is that
because of the failure of government.
Yes,
like you said, all religious organizations, whether they be mosques or churches and other, they are registered in Part C of a CAMA.
Yes.
And you and I know that on an annual basis they have to make return to the Corporate Affairs Commission. Yeah. So the argument that they what they do and their numbers and the money that they generate ordinarily shouldn't have arisen in the first instance.
No,
because they expected to make return to the CAC on an annual basis.
If it's
report of the activities.
Please, can you point to me? I have tried, even before this program, to try and get data, either from the CAC or from even from the Bureau. Even if you go to the Bureau of Statistics, of National Statistics, they don't have any figures that confirm what is generated. Let me give you, for instance, in the US,
where you and I can apply for the CTC
even in Nigeria, nobody really knows exactly what is the amount of funds that have been generated, the excess liquidity that is in this sector. And I'm saying that this is a viable sector. Let us recognize them as a viable sector, as a sector that can provide and serve as a catalyst for development in Nigeria.
You are generalizing. You assume that all church activities are strictly business. And I would say maybe less than 10% of these churches actually engage in
I am
business.
not saying that it is.
And if they are going to
activities.
engage in business, you and I do know they have to incorporate either business names or limited liability company before they can engage in those.
My argument.
And if they do incorporate those business names and limited liability company, of course those business names and limited liability have to pay taxes to government.
That is
one way or the other.
That is agreed. But you see, the reality is that the excess liquidity that is within this informal sector is such that if it were made,
it's not only in the churches that you have excess liquidity.
If you hold on, if you let me,
even governments all over, even governments all over the
him,
federation, in the states, in the local government,
see,
and at the end of the year, do have a spend budget, and some of them toy with or
let me give you some
return to the treasury.
Let me give you some figures that, for
What's the point you want
instance,
to make?
let me give you some figures, some statistics that we don't.